Chill.
Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behavior. And what have we got today? We have got another team building exercise. I love these things. It's just so much fun to put together random teams and assortments, and it gives you an idea of the possibilities of what we can do with Marvel Legends. Like the fact that we have so many different characters covered and they span like 60 years of history, and there's so many different times that there have been different teams, different groups, different dynamics. You can do so much with these figures, and you can use figures that don't really get much love or attention. Like for example, Sable, Silver Sablinova, and more specifically, Silver Sable's Wild Pack. Now again, I'm still getting a little familiar with this kind of camera setup, so I'm gonna do the old hand behind the figure, and that sort of blocks out my face so that you can get a better look at the figure herself, because I really like this Silver Sable figure. She has a lot of kind of character in the face there. It is that fixed expression, but it's kind of a good fixed expression. It's not too kind of plain Jane mannequin. There's actually a bit of kind of character. She just looks stoic. She looks like a stoic military leader. Like she is from country where they do not have humor. They just have sensible military goals, and that's Silver Sable. So for those of you, sorry, I'm very, I was sucking on a toffee earlier, and I'm all sort of juicy mouthed. That sounds weird. So Silver Sable, she has Silver Sable's Mercenary Wild Pack. And this is a team that was very prominent in the 90s and is still about, and it's always had changing members. And her main core of Wild Pack members, we're never gonna get in Marvel Legend form because they're very obscure. They're not like big mainstream characters. But she would have mercenaries and superheroes and people that she would recruit into her ranks to kind of bolster her team for special missions. And we have a lot of them featured in Marvel Legends. So first of all, we have Silver Sable, but her kind of right-hand man for a long time was a surprising one. Her backup, oh, where did I put him? Where did I put Silver Sable's right-hand man? Okay, hang on, hold that thought. Yeah, I couldn't find him because he was the same color as the carpet, go figure. We have the Sandman, and this was when the Sandman first became a heroic character, and this was really cool. First of all, speaking of really cool, the Sandman bath. Oh my goodness. I've used this character a few times for a few displays, but why not? He just looks so cool. I love this guy. The only thing missing, which a lot of people will agree, is that he needs some sandy feet. That's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your sandy feet. That's a very old song. And it's not Sandy Feet, it's Tiger Feet. But still, Sandman became a hero in the mid-90s or even like the early 90s. And it was cool because he was trying to be a reformed criminal. And it took a long time for heroes to accept that he was, on the side of the angels, as they say. And he looks pretty mean and nasty with this messed up, Build-A-Figure head, but it's so cool. I love it. Like he's just been punched in the side of the head and it's reforming, and then you've got this big hand reaching out. I love also that he has two other hands. He has like the block fist and he has the spike ball fist as well, but I always feel like they don't look like they sit properly on his sandy arms. They look like very much like they are accessory hands, whereas these blend in really nicely with his arms. So always going to go for this one. So we have Silver Sable. I'm going to put Sandman over here. And already that looks like a really nice frame of characters there. I really dig that. So we got Silver Sable and her muscle. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Like Sandman is her number one kind of, heavy hitter, basically. But then she needs a second in command. Silver Sable needs someone who's going to kind of back up her tactical plans, and this is where we get a really obscure Marvel legend who I'm a big fan of, and that is Paladin. Now Paladin, I knew of him as a character, but that was about it. He's a really kind of nondescript mercenary type, and he's not a bad character. It's just he doesn't really have much else going for him besides just, he's a military operative. Like that's about it. There's not much to him besides that. But Marvel or Hasbro decided to make a Marvel Legend of him, and it's actually a surprisingly good figure. Like I really like this this design. It's been used a couple of times. I think the Blade figure uses this buck as well, but it's a great just sort of military figure, and there's a lot of detail to him that I wasn't expecting when I got him. I got him just so I could build the wild pack, but then I see like nice little touches, like he has this blade, this removable knife in his boot, which I think is really cool. And also, a lot of people will lose this. So if you can get a complete Paladin, that's actually pretty good. And then I love the fact that, again, the articulation allows him to be just drawing his gun from his holster. It makes an interesting kind of dynamic sort of pose. So he goes great next to Silver Sable here. And yeah, I'm digging this. Hang on, I've got a plan. Hey, how's that for a dynamic use of the Spinatron 5000? I want to try and incorporate as many different ways of making these videos more interesting. And now you don't have me reaching across trying to reach around my display to show you what's what. So here we have displayed on the ludicrously expensive Spinatron 5000, Thomas Fireheart, the Puma. And this is a character, again, that kind of had his day in the late 80s and early 90s and has sort of faded to the background a bit. He still is around in the Marvel Universe, but he's not that heavily featured. But he was another operative who Silver Sable would recruit into her wild pack, which is a very appropriate name for this animal-themed character. He first came in as kind of a villain, but he was always that kind of stoic sort of, proud, honorable type character. So he quickly became an ally of Spider-Man and, being on the side of the angels and whatnot. And this figure is a really, really fun one. I sort of see him as a bit of a sleeper hit, but when he comes around, you'll see the detail on the face, I think, is really great. He's got those wonderful feline details, the pointy ears, the cat nose, the scar going down the side of his head, and then you've got more detail here with his feet and the fur and the hair and whatnot. It looks really cool. So I'm on board with this guy. I really like him, and he makes a fun addition to the Wild Pack team. So I'm going to move the Spinatron to the side and try not to knock everything over. I try to make these display videos a bit like a Bob Ross painting. It's a lot about what's being said as opposed to what's being done. But you can see now, we've got 4 core members of the Wild Pack here, and they're making a cool display, and it's not something that you would normally consider when arranging these characters. Now, let me see. Okay, we have another one who we start to get into the area of characters that are sort of recruited for like the occasional job here and there, and this is a fun one. Now we have everyone's favorite zombie cyborg, Deathlock. And Deathlock is a character who I will happily throw into any display because just look at him. Such a cool figure. There's so much going on here. First of all, he has a Gatling style gun with a gun belt. Like, that's just really, really cool. I tried different ways of having him hold it with both hands and whatnot, but his left hand suffers from what a lot of characters do, where it's not in a position to really grip the gun very well. It looks like the gun is kind of resting on his fingers. So instead I have him, just holding it down like that, and then the hand is perfect for gripping the gun belt, and that looks really cool. Then you've got the other details like the American flag on his chest, the pipe cable going across his chest into the power pack on his back or whatever it is. He's got a removable handgun as well. There's so much going on with Deathlock that I think just makes an awesome looking figure. So Deathlock, we're going to place, actually, I tell you what, I'm going to use one of my little tins here to elevate Deathlock a little bit, so we can get a bit of a 2-tiered effect going on here. And yes, look at that. That is really coming together as a display. I like that. But, oh, actually, I tell you what, because we're getting a lot of red and yellow together and it starts to clash. So actually, I'm gonna put Deathlock over here, just in front of the Sandman, because Deathlock is a tall character, but luckily Sandman is even taller, being a builder figure. So that works, and I know now who I can put on this stand. This is another sort of superhero who's been brought in as backup, basically. Silver Sable will recruit who she needs, and occasionally who she needs is Hobie Brown, the Prowler. Whoop, his cape saved him there. You see, a lot of people don't like the solid plastic capes, but there you go. Just saved me from having to reset my entire display there. So there's a lot to be said for plastic capes. I appreciate that not everyone is a fan because they do. I nearly had to eat my own words there as the plastic cape almost took out Silver Sable. But that's why you guys watch these videos, because they're completely unplanned, unscripted, uncooked, and uncensored. Yeah! That's what they used to say on Raw back in the 90s. It was a halcyon time. But yeah, I'm going to take Prowler off of the ludicrously expensive Spinatron 5000 before he takes out anyone else. There was me just bragging about what a great setup this is and what a wonderful addition the plastic capes are. And then he takes everything out, but that's okay. That's half the fun. As Bob Ross would say, it's like, you know, there's no mistakes. They just make it into a pretty little cloud, and then that's just lovely. So yeah, I'm gonna pop Prowler up here on the tin can there, and look at that. I'm glancing over to my phone, which shows, to my computer, which shows what's on my phone. And that is looking kind of nice there. And we're almost done here. See, this wasn't going to be an epic video. This was just going to be a fun little, let me show you what you can do type of video. So yeah, we have our sort of main team here, but there's still just a couple of other people who feature in some of her stories. And in the early 90s, she had a limited series. I'm not sure if it was a limited series or if it was an ongoing series. It just didn't last very long. But still, a couple of other characters appear. First of all, she brings in Clint Barton as a specialist type character, and another person, not a mercenary of course, because he's an Avenger. Avengers aren't mercenaries. They fight the good fight for what's right, kind of like Wonder Woman. But Hawkeye was brought in again, like Black Widow. Even though he's a hero, he's very much kind of like a military kind of like, hey, I'm gonna do the job and come in when needed. And I just love this vintage Hawkeye figure. It's so good. So I'm gonna place him just alongside Prowler here. And next to, what am I trying to say? Puma. There we go. I was blanking there on the name. I was blanking on the name of the Puma type character who looks like a puma and whose gimmick is being a puma. What was his name? Johnny Catman. That was what it was called. Catmandu. I believe it was called The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down. All right, we're almost done here. So now we just have a couple of characters who, of course, Silver Sable has run-ins with during her time. Because during the time of her series, she had all kinds of, villains and people that she interacted with. But a couple stand out. First of all, one that I just wanted an excuse to use, and he does feature, but I just don't get to use him in displays very often, and I like the chances that I do because he's a fun, I should edit this, but I won't. He's a fun character to display, especially when I have the space, and that is Abner Jenkins, the Beetle. And this is a really, I don't know if it's an underrated figure. I think, because people use the term underrated like too much. It's like, oh, this is underrated. It's like, is it underrated or is it just rated about as much as it really deserves to be? And I think that's the case with this figure here. It's like he gets some love, but not that much love. Because he does have the great translucent wings that look lovely, but he doesn't have any other accessories. He only has the clenched fists and whatnot, but he's shiny and metallic. I love the kind of angled armor that he's wearing. It's a cool figure. And during the Wild Packs run, they do have some run-ins with the Beetle, and I just want an excuse to display Abner Jenkins here, and I'm gonna pop him up. Oh wait, he's not gonna balance like this. I'm gonna rearrange him. There he is, up on his stand, just kind of menacing the heroes here. Basically kind of photobombing. That's the worst thing the criminal, the Beetle, is doing. He's photobombing the group shot. Now then, this is kind of fun. Of course, Silver Sable's series came out. She debuted in the 80s, but her Wild Pack series came out in the 90s. So who's gonna guest star in any 90s group? Of course, it's 90s Venom. Look at this guy just leaping out of the camera. I've used him a lot for a lot of videos, but it's just such a fun figure, and especially in this pose with his hands raised and just leaping out at you. So cool. And he does feature a little bit, but to be honest, I mean, it's like, it's a 90s comic. Of course, Venom guest stars in it. It would be kind of funny. I could imagine It reminds me of one of the few funny things that WWE ever did that was scripted, where they were having a promo segment for an upcoming Money in the Bank match, and R-Truth is a guy who always participates in every Money in the Bank match. He never has any chance of winning, but he's always there to make up the numbers. So all these guys who are participating in the match come out and they all like cut a promo. It's like, oh, I'm gonna win the Money in the Bank. And then the next guy comes out and he's like, ah, you guys suck. I'm gonna win the Money in the Bank. And then R-Truth comes out and he's like, none of y'all have a chance. This year, I'm gonna win Money in the Bank. And they're like, dude, you're not in Money in the Bank this year. He's like, really? Like, yeah, you're not booked for it. Oh, are you sure? It's like, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this one's on me. My bad. All right, y'all go about your business. And I can imagine Venom doing that in a 90s comic. Just turns up in someone's comic book and he's like, hey, I'm here. What are we doing? It's like, we're not doing anything, Venom. It's like, but it's a 90s comic. Why aren't I here? No, you're not booked. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my bad. So I'll pop Venom at the side here because he does appear, but it is kind of like just the token 90s Venom appearance. Let me see if I can just get him. There we go. He's just peeking around there, but he is kind of blocking out Hawkeye. So I'll move him off to the side because it is just a generic Venom appearance. And finally, of course, we have the character who kind of is most often associated with Silver Sable. Finally, yes, we have Spider-Man himself, the person who I always associate with Silver Sable, that one comic book character who she's most connected with and interacted with is Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Now, during the Silver Sable Wild Pack comic book, this is more in the 90s when he's rocking the red and blue. However, he's wearing his alien costume when she first makes her appearance, and I don't get to use the alien costume enough, so I'm going to throw it in here with this Silver Sable display. And that, folks, pretty much is the Silver Sable Wild Pack. There are other characters, of course, who are in the Wild Pack and make prominent appearances that we don't have yet. The main one that I really want to get is Rocket Racer. He actually features quite a lot, quite prominently, and we don't have a Rocket Racer. There is Madcap as well, who I think we do have a Madcap figure, don't we? Part of the Deadpool sort of line. So Madcap could be in there too. He was a villain, but he was kind of masquerading, but he is a prominent character. Then we've got ones like Will-O-the-Wisp also, and a couple of others who just are not in the Marvel Legends rankings yet, but give it time. I'm sure they're going to appear eventually. And when they do, I'll snap them up. But yeah, this is a really fun assortment. If you want to go further into Silver Sable's kind of history and lifeline and life story, there are other villains who feature very prominently. Rhino actually killed her at one point. During the Ends of the Earth storyline, Rhino was teaming back up with the Sinister Six, and essentially they get trapped underwater, and Rhino is so torn up and heartbroken over the death of his girlfriend and all these other things that have happened. He commits to drown with Silver Sable. He holds her under the water and they both die together. It's very tragic, but very well written as well. But eventually she comes back, as they always do. I think she was cloned as part of the clone conspiracy, which is just awful storytelling and lazy writing, but it is what it is. But folks, there you go. This is the Silver Sable Wild Pack team display. What do you think? What other teams should I do? Comment below, let me know. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you really want to support the show, then go to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. Throw a few shekels my way. And before you go, here we have the Data Blast, the best things that I've found on Instagram, curated for you. So check out the names of the creators, go give them a follow because they do amazing work. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
I feel like coming up, feel like coming up.